Today we are going to build the application we see on our screen. The application we see on our screen is what we are going to build. So at the end of the day, we'll have what is on our screen. We are going to use the MySQL database. So today we are not going to use Access. Going forward, we'll use MySQL. When we get comfortable, then we'll start using um, MS SQL to design our applications. I want to make a point over here. Your exam would be, the section B part would be based on the CRUD. How do you how do you insert a user? How do you create a user? How do you do this? How do you do that? Then you write the short codes to do that. So in your learning, you can start incorporating that in your learning so that when it gets to that time, it would be easier for you. That said, let's begin what we are doing. As I said, today we are going to do this. If I come here, I can enter a particular student's index number. I can enter his name. I can choose the program they want to do. I can click on the add button, and then we will see that the person has been added successfully. I can double click to add the person to the side. When the person comes to the side, I can change his program. I can click on update, and we can see that we have updated the person's information to fashion. I can also double click on a user and click on delete, and you can see that we have deleted that person from the system. We are going to build an application that can do all of these things: add, remove, delete, and then do all of these things. So let's begin. In us beginning, I'll start by opening a new VS Code application. Okay. Visual Studio application. So Visual Studio 2022, and then I'll open up from there. So this is what I have. And I'm going to go on to start a new project. And once I've started a new project, I'm going to call, or this, I'm going to select on Windows Form, click on Next. I'm going to call my thing, let's say, information that information getter. You know, I think extraordinary. And then I'll click on this. Create. And so I've created my application so that I can write my code in it. Now, in the application, it is going to load. And once it is done loading, I can see this is what I have. Perfect. Now, of course, I have to design what I want. So I'm going to design what I want. Obviously, I'll go to my toolbox. By now, you should all be good at designing. And I'll go for my text. Let's go for a label. And I'm going to use the label to give a nice welcome message. I like giving welcome messages because it makes people know what you are doing. So welcome to peer review. Okay. And then in here, I'm going to choose this. I'm going to make the font, let's say 16. And then I'm going to make sure it is bold. I'm going to put this in the middle somewhere here for now. And then I'll go for another label. And then once I go for a label, I'm going to make sure my label is 12. And I'm going to make my label bold. And I'm going to put it over here somewhere. I'm going to copy the label out. I'm going to copy the label out again. So I have 3 labels. The first one is going to be the student ID. So here I'll just say student ID. The second one is going to be the student's full name. So here I'll just say full name. And then the last one is going to be the program of the student. So program. Wonderful. Of course, I would need a place for the person to type their ID and their full name. So I'll have a text box so that I'll have here. I'll make the text box a font size of 12. 12. And I'm just going to make my text box have the name text box 1. Yeah. And then this is going to be text box 2. Yeah. Yeah. And then the last one is going to be a combo box. So combo box. And also I'm going to make the combo box 12. Where is it? 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. Yeah, font is going to be 12. So that over here, I can drag this out. And then I'll click on here to add items to my combo box. So let me say IT, computer science, and let's say fashion. Okay, so I'll press OK. Good. Now, of course, the person will have to submit. So he would need buttons to submit. So let me put these things closer together. Yeah. Yeah. Good. So I'll need a button. So in here, I'll say button. And then my button is going to be here. I'm going to copy paste it. And then here, copy paste it. And then here. I want the button should be under this one. So it to be here. So I'll bring it a bit closer so that it is closer like this. It's too far, so I want it to be a bit more closer. So fine. So over here, I'm going to make this one BTN add. Then down here, I'm just going to give it the text property add. Over here, I'm going to do update. So that over here, I'm going to do delete. Perfect. Great. So this is what I have. Just so that things are the same, I'll stretch this one out so that it's the same as this. Then it looks even enough. Now, For what would be showing from the database, I need a data grid view. So I have a data grid view here. So I can paste it here and then I can stretch it to cover all of here. So this is what I have. Now, my thing looks a bit too stretched, so I'll move it to the side here a bit. And then this one is fine. I'll click here, drag this one to the top here. It is also fine. And then I will shift this one in here a bit like this. And then I'll bring this one a bit closer so that it touches here. And then I have this as my window. So this is where everything would be. Now, I am done designing my form. This is my form. This is how my form is going to look like. Now I must work on where my data is going to be. My data is going to be in my SQL database. Because of that, I need to know where my server is located. So I'll first of all have to go and open my XAMPP, start the Apache, start the MySQL. After I've started the Apache and started MySQL, then I will go into my browser, type localhost, and then click on admin or type localhost/admin so that I can open the database section of my work. The database section of my work is now opening up for me. And once it pings up, then I can start connecting everything together by creating my table and my database. So now the database has opened up. I will click on the new button. And then in here, I'll go and type what I think is new. So the name of my database is going to be PeerDB. So PeerDB. And then in PeerDB, I'm going to put in my table, which I'm going to call student. And I'm going to click on go. Now, in student, I have the student ID, the full name, and then I have the program. So over here, I have student ID, which is an integer, but I'm going to go to the index field and make sure the index field is a primary field so that the index field becomes my primary key. Over here, I'll have full name. And then finally down here, I will have the person's. I'll have the person's program. Now, over here, I'll have Baka and I'll choose Baka here so that the length of my name should be 150 and the program should have a length of also 150 characters. Done. So I'll click on save. So just for a recap, the server I'm dealing with is called localhost. The name of my database is called Peer. The name of the table is called student. And in student, I have this information over there. That's great. So now I can go and work on my code. I think this and this is a bit too close. So let me just separate them a bit, give them some nice gap. Perfect. Now, I'll double click the form itself. So right now I'm in the form. And in the form, I'm going to type import at the top because importations are done before the class. So imports MySQL dot data dot MySQL client. So this is a library that you have to go and import. Now, As you can see, the library doesn't exist on my computer. It is not there on my computer, which is not a problem. I will highlight the MySQL data part. I will go to my Solution Explorer. I will right-click my Solution Explorer. I will right-click my Solution Explorer. I will go to Manage NuGet Packages and click it once, and it would give me the window that I can use to install any package I want. I'll click on Browse. Whilst connected to the internet, I would go and search for MySQL data. I have found the MySQL data library, and I'll click on it, and I'll click on Install. So this will install it and make it part of the application in which I have. So once installed, I accept, and it is done installing. So you can see that now when I go to my code, it says fine, I can continue. My packages are there. My packages being there mean that I can now start writing my code. How can I write my code? You can see that there's no line under it, so it is reference. Okay, everything in which you do that has to do with a database, every database has a way you have to open it. Let's imagine a database like a vault. So you can see that when we had access, we would have the link to reach it. But for MySQL, the link to reach it is a bit different. And that is the key that we'll use to open it. So we need a key. Every time we need to access the database, we'll have to go with the key to open it. And what is the key I'm talking about? So I'll create a private, knowing that if I create it private, it means that only the class form1 can use it. No other form can use it. Only form1 can use it. So it is private. It is called connection string. And connection string is a word I am using. You can choose any word you want. And it is as a string because that is its data type. And it is going to be used to store this information. First of all, I need to know where my server is. So my server is equal to localhost, semicolon. Next thing, I need to know the database. The database in question is called PeerDB. That's okay with a semicolon. I need to know my user ID, that is capital UID, which is equal to root. And I need to know my password, that is PWD, which is equal to nothing. So I leave that place empty and bring a semicolon. So this is the connection string. This is the code that I would use to connect myself to the database. So every time I have to connect to the database, I have to go along with this connection string. Other than that, I can't connect to the database. Now, let's see what we can do with this. I'm going to create a sub. A sub and a function are basically the same, only that a sub does not return a value and a function returns a value. So here, if I say private sub and I call my sub load data, that means that the information here is going to be loaded into my application anytime in which I want. So anytime I call on load data, I want certain things to be done. What do I want to be done? The first thing is I want to open a connection to the database. And how do I open a connection to the database? I'll create a place so that the connection will be kept. So dim con as a new connection to the database. So here I'll have my SQL connect. And it should be equal to the connection string that we created. Perfect. So with this code, I will take this key and go and open the database. And once I open it, the door will be kept open by this. So anytime I have to open the database, if I have this, then I can go into the database. And then I'll go and try to do something in the database. Remember, we use the try catch exceptions because if our program gets a failure, if our program can't connect to the database, if our program gets a problem, our whole application will not crash, but it will catch the problem and keep the problem while our application continues to run. So in here, I'll say con dot open. So now it means that the database connection has been opened. I'm going to say again, dim command. The CMD is a word. You can make it any word, but as a standard, it is used to denote a command. And we are making a MySQL command. And what are we commanding the SQL statements to do? We are telling it that, hey, go into my database. So select. Select means go and fetch. And when you go fetch everything, so how do I say everything? I use the star. And what am I selecting? I'm selecting from the student table. So I'm selecting from the student table that I created. And once I have selected, I have to go there with the key because if I don't have the key, I can't go to the database and do something. Now, everything here is underlined because we are technically telling the computer that we are creating our own data type. And if we are creating our own data type, then we have to tell it that it is a new data type that we are creating. So if the new word doesn't come here, everything here is wrong. That's why it was aligned. So in here, I can then go and say dim adapter. Now, the word adapter is used to store information. So we are telling the computer that when you go and fetch the items here, go and store it in the MySQL data adapter. So we'll best put the command here. So the computer knows that, oh, when I go and do this, I'll get something. What I get, go and store it in the adapter. Now, we are going to create a virtual table. So I'm going to say dim data table, so DT, as a new data table. And I'm also going to say that go and take the adapter we created because the adapter holds what we went to take from the database and fill it with the data table that we have created in our VB. Now, once you have done that, go for the data grid view. And we called it data grid view 1. Because if I go in my code and I click on this and I go to properties, I'll see that the name of it is data grid view 1. So I'm on track. And I'm going to say, when you take data grid view 1, the data source of it should be what I have filled. So should be the data table. Now, if anything goes wrong here, anything goes wrong over here, catch it. And when you catch it, go and put it in a message box. So message box dot show dot show. And what are we showing? We are showing that the person has an error loading data, and we'll just tell the person the error by using the exception dot message so that the person can see the error he got. And of course, this type of message is going to be a message box dot error, right? Oh, message box, I can even leave it like that. So let me leave it like that. I don't have to even put it in the icon, so I can leave it like that. Let me not worry myself. Now, in our try catch, we'll add final. Final does something very great in our code. If this final means that if I get an error or I don't get an error, run this code that is here. No matter what happens, run this code in final. So that if it works, we'll close the database. If it doesn't work, we'll still close the database so that no one can get access to the database. Now, remember that this code here is a sub or a function. That means that the only way I can use it is when I call upon it. And when do I want this code called upon? Because when the person starts the application, I want this page to load. This thing here, I want it to load the information from the database. So what is going to happen is a connection will be created, the database will be opened, the information will be collected, it will be saved over here. I'll create a place to save it on in the VB. I'll move it to the VB, then I'll show it over there. So if I don't tell the computer that on the loading of the form, so I'll just click anywhere on the form, and you can see that I am at on form load, go and run the load data. So the moment the form loads, it will go to the database, pick the data, go and put it in the data grid view for me. Amazingly, if I run this code, God being so good, hopefully I get no error. Oh, I got an error. You have an error in your SQL syntax that responds to my real vision near this at from. Okay, so I have an error. And you can see that because of the try and catch, it still ran. It didn't give me the error. And the error is coming from over here, the statement here. And the error is saying that I use the word from, not from. So here has to change to this so that I have it incorrect. Please, sometimes whenever we are coding, there is a tendency to think that everything we do should be correct. You get errors. There is no shame in getting an error. When the error comes, you must read. You must find out where it is coming from, and then you must solve. Here I have a spelling mistake. I correct my spelling mistake. I run again, and I pray I don't get an error. And as you can see, when I run again, I didn't get an error. You can see that it is telling me that I have a student ID table, a full name table, a program table. So it is going to pick the information there. The information I require is being picked, but there is nothing in it. So now I must go and put things in my database. How will I put things in my database? On my form, when the person fills in the form, he fills in the person's ID, full name, program, he would click on the add button to add something to the database. Hence, I will double click on the add. In double clicking the add, I can write the code of what will happen when the person adds something to the database. The structure of the ad is similar to this. So I'll copy all of this in here and I'll come and paste it inside the ad. But where the try is, I do not need all of this. So I just need this. So I'll make a connection to the database. I will start. I will tell the person he has an error, but this time it is not an error loading data, but an error adding data. And then in here, I can start writing my code to go and add the items to the database. As always, I would need a command. So I'll say dim command as a new MySQL command. And then in here, I'll put the SQL statement that will go and do my command. So I'll tell the computer insert. And what are we inserting? We are inserting into the students table. And what are we supposed to insert into the student table? What information will the student table have? The student table will have the person's student ID, the person's full name, the person's program. Now, the values will be entering, and this is where the important things come into play. So the values, so what is going to be placed in these columns are are at the person's ID, at the person's full name, and at the person's program. And all of this would be separated with a comma. And remember, I would need a key for the database, so I'll add the key over here with the con. That means that this, and this are placeholders that will take the information from the user's phone. So I'll tell the computer that when you go to command, there would be a parameter over there. And the parameter, I want you to add it with value. And what value are we adding? We are adding the student ID. And where can we get this information? We can get it from text box 1 dot word text. Perfect. So when I go to text box 1 dot text, I can get this information. This information here is a string, so I have to make sure it is in double quote. So if I leave it without bringing the double quote, it means that I am wrong. Now, this information here goes to student ID. I know that the student ID is supposed to be only integers. So I have to tell the computer that make sure it is an integer by using integer.parse to affirm that the value coming over there is an integer. So I have to put this in this. I'm done with this one. I'll go to the next one. I'll affirm that the next value I have, which is text box 2, but text box 2 is not an integer, so that I don't have to use the integer.parse. I don't require it. And text box 2 is not going to replace where I have student ID, is going to replace where I have the full name. The next thing, I have to go for the person's program. So here would be program. And the person's program is a combo box. So we have combo box 1 dot text. Perfect. So I have gone for what the person has typed. I'll give it to this one. This one will come and replace this one like that. So now that I'm done, I can tell the computer that, oh, I'm done with my command. So go and execute my command as a non-query. And when you are done, you can show the person that he has made a successful submission of data to the database. But when I show him he has made a successful submission to the database, I have to then go and reload my table so that he can see that the person he has entered has worked. And when the code gets here, it will leave here and come and do all of these things so that the information there would be updated. So if I click on this code here, if everything I've done is correct, hopefully, and I put in here that my student is 111, his name is John Kwame, and then I say that his program is IT and click on add, it tells me I have a syntax error near my in my line MariaDB near line 2. Okay, I'll press OK. So it didn't load. And again, the try and cache didn't make my program crash. Let's go and see where the error is. So if I have an error and the error is telling me that I have an error with my MariaDB, then it means that I have an error with my SQL statement. And I can see immediately that it is true. I have an error in the SQL statement because this bracket here closes here. This bracket here is supposed to close over here. And I didn't close it. So if I run this again, and I type 111 here, I type my John Kwame over here. And then over here, I choose the program as IT and I click add. It tells me that the information is successful and I press OK. And then the page will be loaded so that this would show. So I can close this. That means my data is going to the database. There is no need to panic. There is no need to make things more difficult than it is. There's no need to see programming as some scary thing. It is systematic. It is systematic. With that, let's continue from here. And in continuing from here, we are going to go to the next activity, which is to update. So I'll double click on the update and I have the update section over here. Updating is basically the same as you doing addition. So I'll copy everything here. To be honest, everything will remain the same. The only thing which will become different is the SQL statement. And the SQL statement is I want to update from the students table and I have to give the set of items I want to update. So I want to update full name equal to at full name, comma. I want to update the person's program, which will be equal to at program. But all of this will be done where the person's student ID. So let me bring this one down here. Where the person's student ID is equal to at student ID. We'll start. Yes, Hewlett. If you're talking, I can't hear you. Your hand is raised. If you are talking, I can't hear you. Okay. I have someone at my door. I'm
Yeah, you
pausing.
can hear me.
I can hear you, but I have someone at my door. I'm pausing. Give me 5 minutes. I'll be with you very soon. Okay. Okay, Helen. Sorry about that. What's the question?
Okay, so please, can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah. Okay. So the question I wanted to ask is this. Um, where we are passing the parameters,
Mm-hmm.
okay, with the various values,
Mm-hmm.
okay, does the system pass those parameters based on just their position, or does it really use the naming system that you supply? So, for instance, um, where you are passing um, parameter like student ID
Mm-hmm.
and like full name, where you are saying that text box two. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does it really use the text box two, or is just basing it on the location, on the location of um of the information you are giving? So for instance, we already used the dim command to insert into the table, and we inserted it in a particular order.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So um do we really need that name
Okay.
like text box 2? Do we really need it?
Okay. So let me go over it again for you. This statement here, okay, is the statement that would run in your database. Now, you could, okay, you could put a quote over here and put an and sign over here and another and sign over here and a quote over here and don't bring the program, this program, okay? Don't bring that program. So that in the middle over here, you would say that the text box 2 should come, in this case, is the combo box. So the combo box should come directly over here. And this is allowed. This means you are feeding the information directly. The problem of this is if someone wants to hack you and they type anything, they have gotten you. You are doomed. So we don't do this. That is why we use the placeholders. So the placeholders are there telling the computer that at this point, I will put something there. Now, the placeholder for full name, for program, for student ID, the command has been created, but it has not been run yet. The command runs at line 54. So this is where the command line runs. Now, this placeholder is this. So you're telling the computer that I have a parameter. I want you to add with a value where you see this, go and put this information there. Where you see this one, go and put this information there. Where you see this information, go and put this information there. I can bring the combo box here on top over here. The only thing the computer would recognize is that where I see program, I'm supposed to go and put combo box over there. So it will look for program of the art in front. And that position, it will go and put the data that is in the combo box over there. So if you don't bring the text box and you do it like this, you are telling the computer that I have created a spot, but there is nothing there. You haven't put anything there. You could have even done, yeah, you haven't put anything there. So the text box dot text, this here is the information you have here. Because in here you said you have a text box. The text box's name is called text box one. And the thing the person typed will be in the text property. So over here, you're telling the computer that go to the text box and go and take the information that is in the text property and bring it back to me. And when you bring it, go to the location in the command that has full name and replace the information there with the information in the text box, text box 2 in this case, dot text.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. I don't know if I could share my screen for 2 minutes or a minute. I could emphasize it more with my code.
Okay, let's share your screen. So I've stopped sharing.
Okay, so when you look at my code here, okay, I'm basically
The
telling it
code
that,
hasn't come.
okay,
It's now coming. Okay, it has come for me.
okay, so you can see my code.
Yes.
So when you look at my code here, you see that basically what I'm telling the system is that at course ID, all right, course ID, at course name, course name.
Okay.
This, okay, yeah, this has no relation with what I have here. It actually has a relation with the Access database.
Okay. That means that if you run it, it won't save anything.
It saves.
Go
It
back.
saves.
Click on the form 1. Okay, scroll up. Stop. You see where you have course ID is equal to txt course ID dot text dot trim.
Yes.
Over there, you have put the thing in the form in the variable called course ID.
Okay.
So the course ID you see there is not the course ID from the database. It is rather coming from txt, that is line 29, txt course ID.
Exactly. I get you now. I get it.
So
I get
what I have done is that I have not done from line 29 to line 63 because we have done that
it.
already.
Okay.
So that you
Okay.
can check did the person enter the ID? Is the ID empty? If it is empty, tell him that hey, go and enter the ID. Those kind of things we are.
Yeah.
I'm not doing them. I'm just saying that whatever
Okay.
you have typed, you take it and go and put it in the database. Of
Okay.
course, if it means that if the person doesn't type anything, it will go into the database.
Okay. I didn't look critically enough. So I was
Sure.
just doing some comparison. Thank you
Oh,
very
okay.
much. I
You're
appreciate.
welcome.
I appreciate.
Are there any more questions before I continue? If there are no questions, beautiful. Then let's continue. So as I said, with update, I have basically the same structure, but the only thing which will change will be the statement. And we are always going to update from the position of where the student ID is equal to the ID on the form. Now, if I run this code again, and I type 111 and I type, let's say, Henry. And over here, I go and choose a particular, let's say, IT, and I click on update. It tells me that update was successful, and you can see that the name has changed to Henry. But the idea is that when I come here, I should be able to click here so that Henry will come here and then I'll update. So let's do that one. So I'll go to my form. I will click in. I will double click in this section here. One second. Okay. So now I have cell content click. So when I click the content, this is what should happen. Are we okay? So cell content click. Well, this gets me the result I'm looking for. Let's see. One second there. Okay. I don't think this would get me what I want. I think rather if I do um, cell click, that will give me what I want. So here I'm going to modify this into cell click. Because if I do content click, it will click the whole thing. I just want one cell. So if I click one cell, then it will give me the effect I'm looking for. So I'll do one cell click. Mhm. Maybe that, let's write some code in here. So if e dot row ID is greater than or equal to 0, then now row ID is the role of the cell. Okay, so the role of the cell. If I click it, I'm going to pick all the items that are in that cell. So I'll use data grid view row, row. It should be equal to my current data grid view one dot the rows into brackets what the person has typed, clicked on. Now, in here, I'm going to say text box one dot text should be equal to the row of the cell which is called student ID, and I want you to pick value dot to string. Perfect. Now, I will do the same thing for number 2. But this time here would be what? Full name. And I will do the same thing for the third one, which is not this, but it is rather combo box 1. And the cell is called program. So what this code is doing is very interesting. When a person clicks on a particular cell, the entire row will be gotten and given to this. Then we are going to split it into the various columns and put them into the various cells. If I have to portray it visually for you, it means that if I click in here, it crashed and gave me an error. Okay, so let's see. Why did they give me an error? The column student does not cannot be found in the parameter name. Oh, okay. But what did he call? Isn't it student ID? Let me run it again and see. Isn't it student ID? Stop. And then run again. What's it called? Oh, I didn't spell. Okay, student. I didn't spell the student ID well. So here it's supposed to be student ENT. Perfect. So run. Please, um, I leave the errors in so that you can see I make errors. There is nothing wrong with errors, but we must solve them. So if I click in here, you can see that it pops up with the information over here. Then I can make the edit and then I can go away. Can we see this? Hmm, interesting. I'm making some progress. The last thing we have to do is delete, I think. So we have done this. We are left with Mr. Delete. And Mr. Delete presents us with also another peculiar situation which we have to deal with. Because in delete, I don't need, delete also has the same structure as this, so I can copy all of this. Here, let me change this form from adding to updating so that the person knows it's a bit different. But the structure is basically the same. It's just that with delete, I don't need the full name and then the program. I don't need those information. All I need is the person's ID. And that's why the ID is very important. So that I can tell the computer that just go and delete from the student where student ID is equal to this. Done. So where the student ID is this, it will pick from the student ID table and delete the person. I'm done. Over here, I'll just say deleted successfully. And then here I can just say error deleting data so that I can know if there's an error coming from there. But once the person is deleted and the form is loaded, we want to say that the text box one, the content of it should be equal to nothing. We want to say that the text box two, the content of it should be equal to nothing. We want to say that the combo box, the selected I index should be -1. That means nothing is selected. So that if I run this again for the last time today and it loads, I can go and add 222 and call the person Amma and say Amma is doing fashion and add, and I've added Amma successfully. I can click here and the information here will show Amma. I can click here, the information here will show Henry. When I click and the information is showing Amma and I click delete and I press OK, Amma is gone and she's deleted. No matter what programming language you are doing, Java, Python, PHP, Node, well, no matter what programming language you are doing, there is always this. There will always be create, replace, update, delete. Knowing create, update, replace, delete is you building a program. It will not come one day. It doesn't come one day. It comes with repetition. Repeat, 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 repeat. And the more you repeat, the better you become. I'll make the code from today's class available to you in your class group. I'll also send you the video as always to watch and try and see if you can do what I did in the code. Are there any questions, please?
Sir Mark,
Yes.
mine is not a very difficult one. Please, please go to the forms.
The design view.
Yeah, the design view. So
Okay.
if I want to step down the welcome to peer review, I want the peer review to be under the welcome.
Okay.
Is it possible?
Is it possible? Of course it's possible. You can just do it like this. Oh.
No. The same, not like copying and pasting. Like I'm writing them, but I want welcome to. I don't want to continue.
Sir, I
I'll
think he's
come
talking
down.
about multi-line. Multi-line. That's multi-line.
No,
So when you
think,
enable multi-line,
I think you can't do that with a label.
You can't do that with a label.
You can't do that with a label. Multi-line is when you have a text box, but if a label, I don't think you can do that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I think you can't do like bring it down in the label. I don't think you can do that.
Okay.
Or I have not read it yet. I'll probably go and read. If you can do that, I'll let you know tomorrow. Next week.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
But sir, the welcome to peer review, I was thinking it's a text box.
This one? No, it's not a text box, it's a label.
Oh, sorry, it's a
label.
Yeah. If it was a text box,
then
you can do multi-line and then just stretch it out so that you can have multiple things in it, like this one. But this one is a label, so you can't do that.
Okay. Got that. Okay, thank you.
HP Elite book. You had a problem during the week. Do you want us to look at it now?
Yeah, but I'm coming. Sorry, sir. Bauer sent a message. He said he had an emergency call back at his workplace, so he has to run. So he couldn't join your class.
That's fine. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal.
Sir, please, when we have finished creating the text boxes and the labels, for instance, the welcome to peer review. If I want to find out if at the time I was creating it, I created it as a text box or a label, please, how do I do that?
When you click on it, when you click on it, you should know if you should know if it's a label or a text box. Or labels and text boxes are very, very different. So even visually, you will see that this is a label, this is a text box. But at the top here, you can see you have like, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
You can see that at the top of the properties, you will see system.windows.forms.label. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So that will give you information as to what kind of tool you are using in your code. Yeah.
So we can look at mine.
We can look at yours then. Okay.
Yes, please.
Let me stop the recording because that one there has nothing to do with our class.